To approve in order. Holly, all in favor of approving the agenda, please indicate that is carried. Thank you. We'll move on to number 6, question period or notices of motion. Anyone have a notice of motion? Or are there any questions online or from the public? Seeing none, we'll move on. And it being just after 11, welcome JBS representatives here this morning to discuss the access road discussion that has been and the study that has been underway. And I'll start with introductions and then we'll have our discussion. So go ahead, Lynette.
Hi, I'm Lynette Kopp, Division 3, Patricia Millicent area.
Good morning and welcome. I'm Dan Short from Division 1, Rolling Hills.
Welcome, Medina Scandrup, Division 2, the Tilly area.
Good morning, Holly Johnson, Scandia, Rainier, and Bow City.
Welcome, Matt Fensky, Chief Administrative Officer.
I'm Arno Dirksen, Division 9, the GEM area and the Reeve of the county. Go ahead.
Good morning. I'm Kelly Chrisman, and I'm from the west side of the county.
Good morning. Greg Screever, Division 5, Lake Newell Resort and Castles.
Good morning. Amanda Philpott, Division 8, Duchess.
Okay.
Good morning, I'm Joseph Paul. I'm the Labour Relations Manager at JBS Canada.
Welcome.
Jeff Tiffin, I manage the Planning, Development, and Engineering departments at the county.
And my name is Derek Pelkey. I'm the Assistant Safety Manager at the plant.
Okay, welcome. Go ahead, Catherine, please.
Catherine Siakla, Communications Officer.
Ariana Nielsen, Executive Assistant.
Sandra Stanway Brooks Bulletin.
And do we have a roving mic to allow others to introduce themselves?
My name is Emil Chris Aurelio. I'm just here for the community, supporting this, the JBS Access Road as well.
Thank you.
Frank Muntinga.
Maria Jackson, Planning and Development.
Mark Harvick, Director of Municipal Services.
Thank you all and welcome, and thank you, gentlemen, for coming in today. Jeff, are you going to
yes, you bet. Thank you.
Discussion here. Thank you.
Thanks very much, County Council. Here with folks from JBS today to talk about the JBS Canada Access Roadways Feasibility Report. The safety around the intersection at the JBS Canada plant has been a topic of discussion for a number of years. Today, we just want to talk about a little bit of the background that led up to the report that was prepared by ISL, some of the existing conditions that they considered, the options that they looked at through the report, and what the outcomes and kind of their conclusions and recommendations of the report were. The entire report is a lengthy read, and there's a lot of information in it. We're not going to go through it all, but we'll go over a high-level summary of what that report kind of concluded could or might be able to be done to improve the issues out there. So even before I've got on the slides here, February 14th, which is when this project started, a little bit of history. Back in 2019, the county worked with JBS Canada as well as Alberta Transportation to take a look at the intersection of Range Road 15-0 and Highway 1 and the safety based on some concerns and some collisions and some fatalities. The outcome of that study done in 2019 kind of told us that the intersection was geometrically safe for travelers, and the cause of a lot of the incidents was poor driver decision. And what we're looking at through this study here was, well, how can we alleviate some of that maybe angst that drivers face when leaving work, so they can make some better decisions, and how can we promote that through manipulating the traffic flow. So anyways, this February 14th, we got a phone call from the MLA's office to discuss. They they've been reached out to by Melchris, a member of the public, with some concerns about the safety around the plant traffic. March 3rd, 2023, the county and JBS staff met here at the county office and discussed some possibilities. JBS gave a presentation of some of the concerns they had, issues, and even a proposed solution. April 20th, JBS presented a similar presentation to County Council, and at that time, we decided, Council decided that we would cost share a feasibility study to look at access roadways, access and egress to the JBS Canada facility, and to see what might be able to be done to reduce some of those issues. And today we're here to present the findings of that report. So the existing conditions, this is the JBS Canada facility, Range Road 15-0, labeled here in orange, is a private roadway used and maintained by JBS Canada. Township Road 19-2 north here is a paved road adjacent to Highway 1, traveling back to Highway 873, north of Brooks and north of the overpass and north of the Fleury-Boswell subdivision there. So this is the existing condition. JBS Canada has two main parking lots, the largest of which is in the southeast of the plant, and the smaller of the parking lots is directly west of the plant here. About 2/3 of the vehicles access and egress from this southeast parking lot, and 1/3 from this parking lot to the west. A little bit more zoomed out map here showing the JBS Canada facility and Township Road 19 north tying into Highway 873 north of the Fleury-Boswell subdivision and the west overpass in Brooks. Range Road 15-0 following south to past the feedlot and into Joanne Trucking Road, which comes into Brooks here. So those are the existing conditions. This next map is the options that were considered through the study by ISL for alternative routing and an alternative, manipulation of the traffic flow. The option that JBS provided way back in March when we met was something along the lines of this number one direct route. And ISL, as part of the study, they felt it prudent to look at a number of other routes. They looked at kind of this south route minimal, which would be the shortest length to get back to that same road. They looked at an option of reconstructing portions of Range Road 15-0 north of the plant to get motorists out up here north to the airport road and over to Highway 873. And we also looked at the possibility of constructing a road out to the east to Highway 873 here. All of the options had pros and cons, and what we're going to discuss these here in the next couple of slides. But the main considering factors are A, what type of benefit is it going to provide, and in this case, by benefit we mean how is this going to reduce the time from when employees at JBS get in their vehicle until they get home at the city of Brooks. And obviously, secondly, we have to look at costs, both on-site and off-site costs, because when we alter traffic flows on site at JBS and the access and egress points, it's going to have a snowball effect and have off-site impacts as well. And we'll talk about those just a little bit here too. So the outcomes here, ISL estimates the traffic demand rate from the south lot, so that's the southeast lot, the busier lot, is approximately up to 1,250 vehicles per hour sustained from 30 to 60 minutes, which is the shift change time when the study took place and the data that they used to model it over. One other piece of information that JBS provided to ISL was the postal codes of all the employees at the plant. So from that, they were able to tell that, which we really assumed the place that they're going from the plant is to the city of Brooks. And I think it confirmed it was over 98% of the people were traveling from the plant to the city of Brooks at any given time. Obviously, we know the currently limiting intersection is Range Road 15-0 on Highway 1, the stop condition and the access to Highway 1, which backs people up into the parking lot, which is a controlled one-lane egress from the site. It takes quite a bit of time. And again, the shift timing information from 2:30 to 3:30, 400 vehicles from the west lot, 850 vehicles per hour from the southeast lot. So that's the number of vehicles leaving JBS Canada at shift change. The chart below is kind of the interesting one that really tells most of the story. Attention drawn to the bold bottom line there. So currently, it can take roughly 90 minutes for an employee leaving a shift change at JBS from the time they get in their vehicle in the parking lot until the time they get back to their house, to their daycare, to wherever they're going after work in the city of Brooks. Obviously, that this time I said we're looking at trying to reduce drivers' anxiety because of the poor decisions that were noted under the previous study. Well, 90 minutes to get out of a parking lot and get home in a typical 5 to 10 minute drive is frustrating, and that's what we're zeroing in on, trying to reduce to drop those poor decisions. If you look at these options here, 1, 2, 3, and 4, 1 was the direct JBS option, and 3 is the South Minimal. Both of these options do access onto Township Road 19-2 North, Gun Club Road, it's commonly referred to as, which is a paved access back to Highway 873. The expected travel times by implementing any of options 1, 2, or 3 have kind of been noted to reduce that plus or minus 90-minute travel time down to 5 to 15 minutes to get people in and out. So you can see the length of the roads and the costs, and after discussion with JBS staff and management, the direct option is something that they feel really excited about, that could possibly reduce those travel times and get people's anxiety levels down when leaving work. So conclusions that ISL came up with of the 4 options investigated, option 1 and option 3 both reduce that travel time, where option 2 also does. However, it's kind of an unfeasible roadway to build through developed agricultural cultivation to the east of the plant out to Highway 873. So that kind of knocks that off the table a little bit. The potential benefit, obviously 90 minutes down to 5 to 15 minutes from the plant to the city of Brooks and where their final destination is. ISL would recommend building that access road to a 9-meter top, kind of a standard gravel access road, to make it easier to maintain. The material costs, the one thing to note is these costs in here are material only, construction, high-level estimates. There's no engineering, design, environmental assessments done that would need to be done to get through some of those wetlands, some of those pipeline crossings, and finally verify and confirm alignment. So these are straight construction costs. Externalities, I talked about, altering the traffic flow on the site, access and egress to the site. It's going to have off-site impacts as well. When we funnel 850 vehicles an hour onto that paved Gun Club Road and funnel them back to Highway 873, there's going to be lineups. So there are some costs built into this for some off-site improvements, a dedicated southbound right lane on 19-2, or eastbound right lane, and a dedicated northbound left-hand turn lane on Highway 873 to facilitate some of that traffic and keep that intersection operating. But again, that would require further investigation with transportation and get their thoughts behind it. In summary, construction of new access will greatly reduce the extent and duration of the queuing at the JBS facility. It will reduce the travel time from JBS to the city of Brooks. The constructability of the road, this is the key point I think that ISL puts in there, is feasible under the constraints of an environmental assessment being completed, because that's going to tell us exactly what we can and can't, and how we have to, or how it would have to be done through that area. And again, it's likely to have off-site impacts. That's really a brief summary of the much longer report with a lot more information in it on what they looked at and how they studied it. And I'm not sure if Derek or Joe has anything else to add, but I can answer any questions if not.
Thanks, Jeff. Anything else to add, gentlemen? Any questions from council? Holly, go ahead, please.
I've heard from 2 different people who live on Gun Club Road about their concerns about the blind corner. So I didn't see that addressed in the study. Would that add significant cost, in your opinion, if that had to be changed?
I think that's something that would definitely need to be looked at in the more detailed design. It is a very flat area. The sight lines in that area are restricted by trees. I think there's a number of options that, if that was determined to be a substandard approach or substandard sight line in that area, there would be ways to economically remedy that.
Okay, thank you. Any other questions or comments? Lynette and then Greg, please go ahead, Lynette.
I don't remember seeing in the report right now how many vehicles actually use the Gun Club Road right now. Like, I know back in the day when I worked out there, lots of them didn't take the Gun Club Road because at that time it was gravel. And now the road you're proposing to help with this is going to be gravel. So just, I don't know, something to think.
Yeah, absolutely. And I don't have all the history on it, but I do believe that the original paving of Gun Club Road there was done to help provide an alternative route back to town. The issue that is experienced with accessing that, and there are some people that use it, is that by the time you leave the JBS Canada facility and you get to the point where you can actually access and turn on to Gun Club Road, you've probably only got 2 or 3 vehicles ahead of you before you can actually turn onto Highway 1 as well, right? So when we say a gravel access roadway, we're really talking about a driveway into the parking lot where these 850 vehicles would have no other option than to access directly onto that Gun Club Road, as opposed to get to that bottleneck at 15-0 on Highway 1, where you've already waited for 45, 50, 65 minutes, whatever it is, and kind of make it more of a point to force people that direction.
Okay, thank you. Greg, please.
So if we pick one of these options and are we looking at is there any word on expansion at JBS? Because right now this is based on current employment levels. I'm just wondering if we do have an expansion at JBS, are we looking at that we're going to have to make some other options at a later date? And if there is an expansion, this option is still viable. We're going to have the same issues for in and out. We may need to make some changes at that time. Should we? Are you suggesting do it now to alleviate what's happening right now, or do we try and approve something that potentially could happen in the near future for expansion?
Well, I guess to be clear, I'm presenting this report purely for information purposes on what could be achieved by the construction of the new access road on the JBS Canada property. I can't speak directly to any planned expansions, anything like that surrounding the facility, but I do think while it is being built and the study is a snapshot in time as to what's happening today, or more specifically what was happening between 2:30 and 3:30 on the day they were out there doing their shift change counting and gathering the data, is that splitting the egress from the property is going to help now, and that time of expansion, on-site decisions would have to be made. I think a lot of the issues that have been created here are because of the bottleneck and the on-site design of the access and egress to the parking lot. So again, we're talking 1,250 vehicles. Is an expansion another 100? Is it another 500? I think that would require, at the development permit stage of that expansion, some definite investigation into that.
Yeah, I think to highlight what you've just said also, we just have an RFD here to accept this as information. There's no decision for us to make relative to the information today, but I think it does consider what the reality is. So go ahead, Kelly, please.
I just wanted to confirm, this is across JBS land, right? So it's totally available to the project.
The construction of the access roadway would be across private property. In total, it would be accessing onto a county roadway. I did mention that the refunneling of the traffic like this is likely to have off-site impacts as well at the intersection of Township Road 19-2 or Gun Club Road and the Dutchess Highway, Highway 873. So those would be off-site costs as well. And I think those off-site costs were estimated in materials at about $300,000 to $350,000, something like that, for the addition of those lanes.
And do you expect that Alberta Transportation would have any concerns? I mean, you can't speak for them, I get that, but to me, this would be in their best interests as well to clean up the 873 turning corner.
Not to put words in anybody's mouth, I think Alberta Transportation recognizes the concerns here and recognizes that, when we're here in 2019 looking at this issue, they were heavily involved. And when they did the improvements through that section of Highway 1 in 2020 and 2021, they did implement some of those improvements from that study. They have a westbound channelized exit lane into the JBS facility now. They have some concrete medians and delineators in the center median and at the access and egress to prevent stacking of vehicles and decreasing visibility. So I think they are very interested in helping and understanding, and it would be a discussion with them to see what their thoughts on the offsite impacts and the improvements could look like.
Okay, thanks, Jeff. Neil, and then Holly.
Yeah, I think you did an excellent job on this report. I've been working out there for a few years, and I mean, the only real option is the one you highlighted as number one, but it's going to take a little bit of work to get Gun Club Road. If you funnel all that traffic down there, you don't want to take the same problem you have at number one and put it on 873.
Yeah, and like I say, that's some further discussions, and we have included costs for improvements there. We've got access to the Fleury-Boswell subdivision right at that corner as well, that service road that runs north-south. So there's additional considerations for sure, and like I say, the discussion with transportation and their engineering team to confirm that the thoughts of the study are on side with what their thoughts are. That would be a little more work to do.
Okay, thanks. Holly?
Just in your experience with transportation, what would be a timeline? Say they agreed, it needs to be done. What actually is the timeline to actually get something happening in your experience?
On projects like this, I think that the timeline would be really quick to receive a response. Realistically, it would depend what we're asking them. If we're asking them for an approval to proceed with a plan, I think that would come pretty timely. I'm not sure, to fund the improvements. I did have some discussions with the Southern Region office and noted that there might be some STIP eligibility for the off-site improvements, not for the on-site improvements at JBS Canada, but again, the deadline for that program is November 30th annually. So, they'll be looking at a 2025 STIP application to look in, and that's the off-site. That only has to happen if the on-site happens. So, I think transportation would engage well in this conversation.
Thanks, Jeff. Adina, please.
I'm just wondering, do we know, is there any school bus stops along the Gun Club Road?
I don't know that off the top of my head.
Specifically, that would be a fluid situation, I suppose, anyway, depending on population demographics and all of that. So, but that's a good question. Go ahead, Neil.
Yeah, there isn't right now. There's just Wasser's house and Fay and Garnet are probably not going to have any more kids. And Wells is next door, and their kids are all grown. That's the way it is right now, but that can change. But there's only two. Well, three.
Okay, thank you. Any other questions that we need to consider in accepting this report? Someone prepared to make a motion that we go ahead, Kelly.
Just from JBS question. what is the word on the street at JBS? Are you open to option one? Is it on the table for an improvement for the plant and the safety of your employees?
Yeah, we're very excited about option one. Myself and Derek both have this problem every day just as employees of JBS, in addition to being responsible for the team members that we have. We work with a lot of team members that have to make it to daycare, they have to make it to school. We're constantly working on helping people with their shift times, trying to get them time off early. And even for ourselves, if we have meetings in town, we're having to leave an hour and a half early so we don't get caught in traffic. So it's something we're very excited for, and we're glad to be taking a look at it today.
And motivated to move forward as the right solution emerges, eh? Yeah.
Yeah.
Appreciate that. Good, thank you. Any other questions? Someone prepared to make a motion? Oh, Kelly, go ahead. To approve?
Yes.
Motion to approve, accept the report as presented. Any further questions? Seeing none, all in favor of the motion, please indicate. That's carried. Thank you for coming in today, gentlemen, and for the presentation, Jeff. Thanks for the collaborative work to get to this point, and we look forward to finding a solution that changes outcomes for us. Thank you.
Let me move to 10.2. We've got Shannon here, and the gentleman in the audience has been waiting for that decision.
Okay. Thanks, Matt. Council, I'm going to suggest we move to item number 10.2, property sale by bid for parcel located in Rainier at 161001 Highway 873. Welcome.
Thanks.
Go ahead.
Yeah, so I am here about this parcel that we have in Rainier. The parcel went through the tax recovery process and was offered for sale at the public auction in November of this year with a reserve bid of $25,200. There was some interest, but no bids at that time. After the auction, the county took possession and reached out to the 3 interested parties, inviting them to submit sealed bids for purchase of the property. All 3 submitted bids, with the highest bid coming in at $26,000. I'm here for a motion to proceed with the sale of the building.
Okay, thank you. Shannon, are there any questions? Go ahead, Holly.
So if you wanted $25,200 originally and nobody bid on it, why do we have $26,000 after?
That was what the bid was, so that's what they submitted.
Okay, any other questions? Someone prepared to make a motion? Or Lynette, go ahead, please.
I was just trying to find it on the paperwork, but in there it says the county has a duty to protect the previous owner's investment in the property. Can you explain that?
Thank you for the question. Go ahead, Shannon.
Yeah, so when we take possession, we're still bound to protect the previous owner's interest in it. And so according to the MJ, we have to, we can sell it as close to market value as we can. So you don't want to take a property and then sell it for less than what we can get for it. After all of the debts are settled, any remaining funds then can go back to that owner, so then they can get money back out of that property if there's anything left. So we have to protect that interest still for them.
Okay, thank you. Anyone prepared to go ahead, Dan?
Just so I understand that right, that the money we get, we pay off the debts, and then the leftovers we send back to the previous owner. Is that right?
Yeah, we have to keep it in a separate account. So once those funds come in, it's set aside, and then they can contact us directly, or they go through the court to release those funds, and then we send them the money.
Okay, thank you. Dan?
Then I'll motion that we approve this sale.
Okay, we have a motion to approve the sale as recommended. Any further questions? Yes, option 1. All in favor, please indicate. That is carried. Thank you. Thank you, Shannon.
I need to go pick back today.
Right.
Bylaws.
Yeah, thanks. Yeah.
It's our friend out of the audience.
Okay, thank you. Now let us move back to the top of our agenda, item number 7, bylaws, and we'll take bylaw 7.1 2063-23, the debenture for the Lake Newell Resort Pathway, second and third reading. Lane, welcome.
Yeah, so council has given first reading to this bylaw during your last meeting. You're in a position to move ahead with second and third reading today.
Okay, thank you. There has been a public notion, but no response.
Correct.
So there's no new information. Thank you. Question, Holly? Motion?
I will motion second reading.
Holly moves that we approve second reading. All in favor of the motion, please indicate. That's carried. Thank you. Dan?
Just have one quick question about if we're taking debt on, does the cost of that debt go onto us, or is that onto the Lake Newell folks?
Matt, Lane?
Yeah, so the county takes the debt. The ratepayers are responsible for paying it off. And you'll have an opportunity as a Lake Newell Resort ratepayer to either pay it all up front and save yourself the interest, or finance it over the 20, 25 years. I can't remember what it is off the top of my head, but the beneficiaries will be paying the debt back.
Including the interest, right? Yeah.
Okay, thanks. And that's fixed on a date. Like new development in there will not be encumbered with that, is that correct?
New development will be encumbered by it. So if more folks come to the party, we end up adjusting the local improvement tax bylaw at that point in time, and you spread it out over whoever's left for the remaining term.
Okay, just a further question. So it sounds to me like that's a disincentive to pay up front in case there's new development. Is that correct? Like, or is that credited back to the, no, okay.
No, it's not credited back. So depending on your expectations for your life, it'd be different for everybody involved. If you're planning to move out of Lake Newell Resort in 5 years, you might choose not to pay it, but it kind of goes both ways, right? If you're a buyer and you're looking at a property that has a local improvement tax attached to it for the next 20 years and that's paid out for you, you might be willing to pay a little bit more for that property to get it down. So
the liability or the responsibility stays with the property. Yeah, thanks. Any further questions, or someone prepared to make a motion for third reading? Amanda, please.
I'll make that motion for third reading.
Thank you. All in favor of approval of that motion? That is carried. Thank you. Thanks, Lane. And we'll go on to bylaw 2064-3, the such schedule of fees. Again, we've had first reading previously, and we are today considering second and third reading. Is there any new information to add to that?
Between first and second reading, there has been 2 very minor revisions to this particular bylaw, text cleanup. So the second reading should be as amended and then followed by third reading.
Yeah, okay. Thank you. Any questions, or someone, Dan, go ahead.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure I understood when I read it that the lease rates are not included this for road closures and whatnot, or are they included in this? They are included in this?
Lease rates are included, but it is as per the rate that was in effect in 2023. It is coming up for discussion during your January Committee of the Whole meeting, and there will be an opportunity for us, if the decision or direction that council provides after that, to bring it back for further consideration and new rates at that time. But as it stands now, it's based on the rates that have been in effect.
Okay, with the understanding that it doesn't encumber us to change things if following a planned discussion of the matter, right? Thank you. Any further comments, questions, or a motion to proceed? Go ahead, Adina, please.
I make the motion, we go ahead with second reading.
Thank you. All in favor of that motion, please indicate. That's carried. Third reading, someone prepared to, Greg, please.
I'll make the motion for third reading.
Thank you. All in favor of approval of the third reading? That is carried as well. Thank you, Lane.
Thank you, and Merry Christmas to council.
Merry Christmas to you as well. We are on to item number 9. Yes, please, Mr.
To be fair, we did have one more person in the stands we could have asked to come up. Maybe, I'm just joking. I felt lonely over there.
Oh, yeah.
Just joking, just joking. And I do want to take a moment to acknowledge that Lane was nice enough to say Merry Christmas to all of you, but he has not once said it to me this week. I know. It's definitely me. It's not
even with your Christmas attire.
Well, it's fancy.
Yeah, it is.
All right, I have nothing. We don't have too much major pressing today, but we do have 2 items in front of you. The first one, I believe, is the BMO Farm Family Award nomination. Something that we've been through a couple times. It's a wonderful program put together through with BMO and the Calgary Stampede. An opportunity to recognize an amazing farm family in our area that is, deriving their primary income from farming. They're very community-minded and a big part of our ag industry. The one thing I always get stuck on is trying to think about, who might be a great family to nominate, and I get stuck on, well, maybe this family might be better than this family, or those kinds of things. But it's really not it's not a competition. It's an opportunity to recognize one family each year that's doing amazing things in our county. And I think that's very easy to do. And there's lots of great options, but I'm here to learn.
And I'm going to suggest that, as per our previous pattern, we are not going to discuss names today. We're talking about the process. Is that correct? Yeah. We will discuss specific candidates in camera, correct? And then emerge with a recommendation. So what's you ready for questions, or what's the decision point here?
There's no real decision point if you're going to discuss it in camera. I think that would just be at the end of your meeting, if the motion could get forwarded to me so that I can know who to contact and go from there.
Okay. Yeah. Is that good? Neil, go ahead.
So we just have to, do we have to pick the area? Like, we shift around, we've been in Bazano, we've been in Gem. Where are we going this year? Because that makes it a lot easier.
Well, and I think there's some wonderful opportunities, Neil.
You'll come back in camera to discuss that later in the day, or
if that's what's requested, I certainly can.
I think that'd be appropriate if council's good with that.
I work at your leisure, Arno, so you tell me what needs to happen.
That's good. Head down, yeah. No. That's great. Thank you. Move on. Oh, yeah, we've got some ASB resolutions to discuss as well, right? Thanks.
Yeah.
Todd.
And I thought this would be a great time just before Christmas to talk about some wonderful resolutions. I understand your January 11th meeting doesn't have a whole bunch on it currently, so maybe we should have waited, but we have them, and Ariana said bring them, so we are here. There is only 7 resolutions coming forward at the ASB conference in January. They are attached, and I guess typically what we have done is briefly discuss them. If there's any questions, we try to hash it out internally, and then we try to decide if we're feeling positive to the resolution or not so much. So I made a couple brief notes, but if it's okay with you guys, we'll just get through them. Does that work for you?
I think so, yep.
All right, so the first one is agriculture equipment highway signs. So Brazeau County is asking that Alberta Transportation provide each agricultural service board with 6 signs that state slow down around agricultural equipment to be installed on highways at locations determined by the individual municipality. Now, I'll just interject my quick opinions first, and then is that okay, Arno? And then
yes, I appreciate that. Yeah.
Okay.
If you've had time to consider the impacts. Yep.
Well, I just I agree with the thought process behind having signs that would outline that, we have agricultural equipment. This is a rural area. Be mindful, be caution. It's not just for the farmers, but it's also for the motoring public. They might not know that you come up on a tractor really quick when the old 4430 is doing 12 mile an hour down the road, right? You might not know that. I just wonder if it's the place for the province to have to pay for that, or if it's important to our municipality, we would do that. If it was a request that came from our ratepayers, would we be like, yeah, that's a wonderful idea. Let's spend a couple $1,000 on signs.
That's a good consideration, one that occurred to me as well. And I've looked through these, not in all the detail or the background, but is the estimated cost? Is there an estimated cost connected to this?
No, there was no estimated cost on it.
Okay, so you're suggesting some pause for consideration of another approach. Yeah. Go ahead, Holly.
I don't think the cost would be really that significant. Do you know why they're asking the province to pay for it as opposed to doing it themselves? Am I missing something?
Well, it's not really written in the background, but there is some consideration for putting signs on highways, that you have to follow a different approach than just putting them on a county road where we kind of have the right or the opportunity to do it at our leisure. So maybe that could come into play a little bit. But in our experience working with them on park signs, working with Volker Steven and Alberta Transportation, it wasn't that difficult. We just had to have good reasoning and follow their protocols.
Okay, thank you. Further discussion, Neil?
Would they do like the Duchess Highway where you've got evergreen implements there with all kinds of big equipment going down, and maybe the Joanne Trucking Road? Is that our baby, or how would this get split up? The number 1 highway too.
I wish I was smarter at signs and knowing what our responsibilities are versus our wants. I unfortunately don't have an answer for that.
It's actually a good idea. I don't know if figure out who's going to pay for it one way or another. I don't think it'd be all that much money anyway. Because there's some pretty big equipment out there now. You get it behind an air seeder on the Duchess Highway. There's not enough room to even pass.
There is. My own consideration would be, as yours, Todd, really, that this is something we could undertake ourselves for 6 signs. Why do we need the province to bear the cost of something that really each individual county can take action on? You can encourage other counties to do the same, but I don't. So I don't know. What are we doing today? Are we arriving at whether we support these or do not support them? If that's the case, then I think what do the rest of you think? I don't know. Neil?
Yeah, I agree with what you just said. If you want a motion to support this, I support highway signs, and for a reasonably not great amount of money, if the county has to pay for them, I'd vote for that too. But that's not part of this right now. But I like the idea.
No, the motion is that Alberta Transportation provide the signs. Go ahead, Holly.
I would vote no, because if we decide we want to do this, the cost is not that much. And by the time we wait for the government to advocate and to go through all the steps, it's not worth the amount of money. So I would vote no on it. We decide to do it ourselves. This is my recommendation.
I think I would agree with that in terms of cost effectiveness as well, because if you impose something like that across the province, it's likely to come, every area might have just slightly different local accents. So, yeah. Dan, please.
Yeah, agree on both sides of all that. But if it's a provincial highway and we want signs, I don't know why just because it's cheap, I don't know why we're paying for the province's things. We got enough to worry about with them making us pay for things that they should be paying for. I don't think we should be offering to pay for their things as well. However, do we need to have these 6 signs put up? Maybe they're better off putting 6 signs up on our own roads and, like you said, pay for it ourselves. But if it's on the provincial highways, then let the province pay for it.
And is there anything that stops us from campaigning to have signs put up on provincial highways in our jurisdiction? I think we can do that. We don't need this really to impose that. Is that correct, Matt?
I mean, for talking about 6 signs in a county, it's chewing up a lot of bandwidth. That's what I think about these kinds of motions that come from left field. Todd's spot on. If it was a concern in our county that we got folks ramming into the back of discs and corn drills, we'd throw the signs up. We've been operating for 40 years without the 6 signs from Alberta Transportation. If it's an issue down the road, we can look at spinning our signs up ourselves. You don't want the province chasing these kinds of squirrels because there's bigger issues that they need to spend their time on. I don't know that that's one of them.
Okay, and it's eating up our time right now. Was that a motion, Holly?
And I don't think
we don't need.
Oh, you don't have a motion? Okay, I think we've come to consensus. Okay, we're just not liking that one. Okay, go ahead. Thanks.
Sorry, I couldn't figure out the button. So I just write on here if we're kind of leaning no or leaning yes, and then sometimes I think we all know when you get there, you hear very compelling arguments that might sway you one way or another as a group. But in general, this is the way we're leaning. So no. All right, now resolution number 2, compensating producers for ecosystem services. So County of Northern Lights is requesting that the federal and provincial governments develop and implement immediately a good actor compensation mechanism for producers performing ecosystem services beneficial for society. And furthermore, that the federal and provincial governments investigate creating an exchange to trade carbon and other ecological services for compensation at the minimum rate already determined by the federal government.
Okay, Neil, thank you.
Would you explain that, please? I didn't get half of the last half of it or understand it.
Well, I think at its core, the thought process from the background is that we're negatively impacted by a carbon tax, but farmers are negatively impacted by the carbon tax for producing carbon, but they're not getting anything back for sequestering carbon. So the carbon tax starts at, how does that work? The carbon tax is on everything you do to produce, but it doesn't take into account all the stuff that what you produce takes away. And I think that's at its core. If there's a penalty, there should also be a reward on the other side.
Neil?
I was afraid that's what it was. I think we should stay away from that one because that carbon sequestering could turn into be just a huge tax grab like most of the other government things turn into. And it's out our league, is my opinion.
Thank you. Go ahead, Dan.
If we're going to sign up for that, then I want carbon credits for the trees in my yard and my lawn grass as well.
In the right room, you might get support for that. But anyway, yeah, right. Lynette and then Holly.
I don't have a problem with making some noise about something like this, but in general, that's not really the way government programs work. So,
yeah, go ahead. Holly?
I think this was kind of voted down provincially in another resolution because the focus was we want to get rid of the tax, not make it heavy. The other thing is carbon is 0.04% of our atmosphere. It's such a small number. It's ridiculous about all this stuff. So it's a nice idea, but trying to make this work, I think, would be so time intensive.
And I think premature for where we're at. There are other groups working on the bigger picture of this issue, so I'd agree with that. Is that somebody wanting to jump on this bandwagon? I'm not hearing it. So do you get that impression?
Yeah, I'm just here to take notes.
Yeah, no, that's good. Yeah, good.
I agree in principle to what the thought is and what the ask is. I just, I always, to Holly's point, it's a time intensive, but if you never start, it's always there, right? That time is always there. So at least if somebody was to start something, there are carbon programs like Neil mentioned that have ran in the past and they've maybe not worked as good as what we wanted, but anyways,
okay,
I'm going to say leaning no.
Leaning no. You got it.
And I do agree that Dan, he's got some big, beautiful trees. He probably deserves the same benefit. The same benefit.
Holly?
Maybe a little background. I've looked into this a bit more. So most programs, if you want benefits, it's not the fact that you have grass or trees. You have to improve every year to get credits, or you don't get credits, and they want to buy them off you. It's a really big thing. Western Stock Growers has put a lot of this together, and they're working really hard on it, and I just think it's more their purview than ours.
Thank you. Let's move on to the next one.
All right, thank you.
Resolution 3.3-24.
So a creation of a livestock production insurance. County of Northern Lights is asking that the Minister of Agriculture and Irrigation work with AFSC and consult stakeholder groups in the livestock sector to develop a new livestock production insurance program or other suitable program.
Go ahead, Holly.
You have a question for Neil. So I'm thinking what it comes to me is that the crop insurance pays out really well, and they want a system that pays out just as well as opposed to livestock price insurance, which may not pay out so well. Am I reading that? Because you're into insurance, so.
No, I'm not into insurance. I'm anti-insurance, to tell you the truth. The insurance programs from the people that I know in agriculture and my experience in it, they're fantastic. We're well looked after. And I don't understand this question again. Creation of livestock production insurance, Arno would know as much way more than I would about the programs that are available right now. So I would go against.
Yeah, I would agree with
that.
you. I see no need for this. I mean, there's a forage insurance for people who grow forage crops for grazing or cattle feed, and there is a cost of production insurance for cow-calf operators who want to protect themselves against market drops. In the fall, those programs are all out there, and I see no need for another program. I don't understand where this would be coming from. Somebody, I don't know. Greg?
Yeah, I always have a problem with government competing against private enterprise. And if there was a need for this program or this insurance, let insurance companies provide that need or fulfill that need. I have a problem with the Alberta government even offering AFSC crop and production insurance because it competes. So,
unless there's more comments, let's move on. I think you got our gist there.
Yeah, I did. I had 0 notes on this one.
No, it's just
I didn't think it's. Yeah. Okay. All right. Leaning no. We are a very negative Nancy group today. I don't like it. I know. Jeez, like Northern Lights is here again. They need our support up there.
The Aurora Borealis might have been weak this year.
This next resolution, number 4, is supporting a compensation multiplier. So therefore be it resolved, the Minister of Agriculture, Irrigation and Environment and Protected Areas work with the Alberta beef producers to adopt their proposed compensation multiplier to address direct and indirect losses from predation. Now, this predation is not from small carnivores, it's from large carnivores. So bears, cougars, I think even eagles, that kind of stuff. Yep. Oh, yeah.
I don't know the details of this, but the fact that they're working with Alberta beef producers gives me some feeling that there's a commodity group at least working in conjunction with this initiative. So probably more confidence in the outcome here than in some of the others, and easier to understand based, assuming that. I don't know the details. Holly, did you have a question or a comment?
No, I agree with this one. I'm a yes, finally.
Okay.
Yeah, this is one that's kind of an odd one because we don't get to play in it very often, obviously. But just anecdotally speaking to producers from other areas, like at different conferences, they'll tell you that, you might be able to get an insurance claim on one animal a year, but you come back 10 calves short. And calves do die and cows do die, but there's a lot more going on. So I kind of see where this is coming from. If you're getting a payout, kind of makes sense. So we're going to say leaning, like maybe yes. Yeah.
I would say so, assuming the checks and balances are in place that would be with a program that came out like this, I would say, yeah. Moving on, 5-24.
All right, so this one, a different municipality, County Stettler, they are requesting that the government of Alberta amend the Alberta Agricultural Pest Act to require minimum containment standards for for Alberta wild boar farms, with penalties to enforce non-compliance. They're also asking that Alberta Agriculture and Irrigation invoke a moratorium on expansions of wild boar farming in Alberta until the province makes a decision on the future of wild boar farming in Alberta.
Holly, and then Lynette, please.
I was actually surprised with actually much of a wild boar industry in Alberta. I thought we had plenty of wild boars just running around. So how big is this industry?
Not that big. I think registered farms, there's 13. They do tend, wild boar farming in the past is why we currently have feral wild boar problem in Alberta. When the industry took a downturn, the animals were let out in some instances, or the containment standards in some of the farms weren't good enough to hold in the animals, so they escaped and never came home. That kind of thing. The government of Alberta has designed fencing standards for wild boar farms. There's just not as much teeth to enforce that. So many of them have done the improvements on their own voluntarily, but there are still a few that have not. And then maybe that's where some of this is coming from the county of Stettler, where they're seeing some introduction of wild boars from a farm. I don't know that specifically. I get the opportunity to help out on I don't know what it's called, Wild Boar Consortium. It's a mix of CFIA, the Alberta government, our AAAF, and we sit there and we talk a lot about the problems that wild boars have, that wild boars create, the potential to bring in African swine fever to our Alberta pork industry. And I agree with what Stettler is asking here. I think it makes a lot of sense for the province.
Yeah, there are concerns about getting a handle on getting these numbers down because they're kind of out of control, I think. So, Dan? Lynette, I'm sorry. You had, yeah.
I was just going to say that I think I agree with this one too. They need to be some stronger regulations.
Yeah. Dan?
And I agree with it because I'd love to see the province put a moratorium on something so that we can get the regulations in order before we have more approvals.
Okay, that's consistent, isn't it? Okay, let's we're good with this one?
I am.
Okay, thank you.
I also could barely understand what Dan said because he was smiling so hard the whole time he said it. So, Sandra's going to have to listen to the tape a lot to get that one. All right, resolution number 6, improving the sustainability of Canadian apiculture through package imports and the control of varroa mites. So this is from Beaver County, that the Canadian Food Inspection Agency permit honeybee shipments from the United States for the purpose of hive repopulation to combat the depopulation of Canada's honeybee hives. They're also asking that CFIA and Pest Management Regulatory Agency conduct further research on varroa miticide control and approve a new varroa miticide to address the lack of control options available to honey producers. And I would most definitely ask a honey producer more about this that sits in the room, because they might understand more about what's going on.
I would agree with you, and Matt has some information that is interesting as well. Matt, go ahead, and then Amanda, if you've got a perspective on it.
I'm just curious if this isn't the exact same resolution that was defeated at RMA and our friends are recycling it down a different street.
Yes, because she's a bee producer and she knows.
Amanda, do you have a perspective on this?
I think we certainly want to protect our own hives here and not open it up. By opening those borders, we're opening up a whole new thing. We need to protect our own bees and keep them safe here. So I would say no to this. Yep.
Okay. Holly, thanks, Amanda.
What Reese said is that the problem lies with the United States having mites and bacteria that are resistant to any of our treatments. I believe that allowing bees from the continental U.S. would quickly make our problems worse.
Okay.
So.
And I think those are very good perspectives. Obviously, I don't know much about the bee industry in general, but those might be perspectives that I might ask that one of you get up and mention at the ASB conference, just because they come from two relatively large bee producers in our county, right? So,
good, thank you.
All right, and can I finish this one before lunch for you?
Absolutely.
Yeah, awesome. The re-registration of 2% liquid strychnine for certified applicators. This is usually the easiest one ever. Probably the chemical that every producer I talk to asks, when is it coming back? And we always get to give them the bad news that it has no plan to come back. But just for the record, what Flagstaff is asking is that Alberta Agriculture and Irrigation propose to Health Canada and Pest Management Regulatory Agency to allow strychnine to be used exclusively by certified applicators. And further be it resolved that the existing strychnine label be subject to meticulous review and amendment with a specific focus on reducing the potential for off-target exposure and implementing enhanced control measures to mitigate any adverse environmental impact. And before we all say yes, I think the only maybe negative part that I could say about what they're asking for here is just maybe in their wording, because they use certified applicators, but in their background, they're saying that producers can get the farm pesticide certificate. That is not a certified applicator. That's a farm pesticide certificate. It's like information more only, but it does allow you access to a couple restricted products. So I think they're maybe asking for one thing, but writing the other. And then I don't know about the meticulous review and restrictions that might affect some of the efficiency and effectiveness of what 2% liquid strychnine had for us in the past. So there was just my two comments about it. I think anytime we ask for a reevaluation of why strychnine went away, I think that's a good ask.
Okay. Neil?
Yeah, I do too, especially if you could reword that or get rid of the word certified, because everybody wants the strychnine back.
Yeah, and I think in the last, well, as long as I've worked here, it's always been only producers and landowners, people that are using land for agricultural purposes. It's always been the right people getting the product to use. So.
Pretty much certified. Yeah. Okay, we're good? You got the direction you need there, I think?
I got it all.
100%.
What?
100%.
Oh, yeah.
We need two voters,
two voters
to appoint to vote at ASB. What are our thoughts in that regard?
Who's going?
Who's going to be attending ASB 2023? Put your hands up. 2, 4, 5 of us. I am not. You're not. You're not. So who would like to be?
Sorry, who's not going to conference? Because I registered for 7 of you that said yes. Also, Greg said yes.
Sorry, yeah, it is in my, I'll put my hand.
Okay. Adina.
Thank you.
Oh, go ahead. No.
I just nominate Adina to be one of the voters.
Okay.
Well, I saw Holly and Adina put their hands up first that they were going, so I just say those two.
Okay.
Yeah, I agree with that, because I'll just lose the clicker anyway.
Yeah. All in favor, please indicate. That's carried. Thank you.
Thank you very much, and Merry Christmas.
Thank you, and Merry Christmas.
Merry Christmas, Todd.
See the color of my tie? Okay. Last, just before we break for lunch, I'm going to suggest that we take item number 10.1, policy review of policy 034-23. I think Roberta's on. Welcome, Roberta. We see you.
Hi, how's everyone?
Good, thanks. How about you?
Good. Everyone can hear me all right?
Yes.
A little bit.
Wonderful.
It's not great.
Ready for me to go, Arno?
Yes, please go ahead, Roberta.
Okay. Thanks, Council. I can only see one of you. It'd be nice to be able to see everybody, but as long as you can see me and hear me, that'll be good. So I'm coming with another new policy that's almost unheard of, 2 in 2 months. This one is a privacy policy. Oh, thanks, Catherine. Appreciate that. Now I can see everybody. We were informed earlier this year from our app provider, Newell Connect app, C-Click Fix, that we would be required to have a privacy policy. They had informed us at that time that we were in good standing and we didn't need to worry about it. Well, we do have to, it's become a priority now, and we are required to have that privacy policy in place. Rather than just building a privacy policy that accommodates Newell Connect, we thought, let's address everything. Newell Connect, Newell Notify, our website, our web map, and I think I had one more thing listed, and I don't remember off the top of my head. And so we've drafted a policy. We've had it reviewed by our FOIP coordinator, the communications officer, C-Click Fix, to ensure that once it's approved, it will provide them what they've been asked for from the app stores, and now also from management team. And now it's come to council for review and hopefully approved either with amendments or without. The implications of not having a privacy policy will be that we will have reduced service level, in that the public will not be able to upload Newell Connect any longer from the app stores, as well as there will be no updates for all existing downloads. So it's quite significant that we get something in place. So I'm open for questions or discussions.
Thank you, Roberta, for that. Are there any questions or comments with regard to the policy as presented? Kelly, please.
A motion to accept as recommended by staff.
Okay, thank you. We have a motion to accept the policy as presented and recommended. All in favor of the motion, please indicate. That's carried. Thank you. Well presented, Roberta. That was smooth.
That's good. I'm glad everything's going smooth.
Yeah.
And Merry Christmas.
And Merry Christmas to you and your family as well.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye. With that, we will adjourn for lunch and reconvene close to 1 o'clock, a little before 1. number 10.3, the electoral boundary review concept maps. Matt, do you want to take us through that?
You bet. Afternoon, Council. Before food coma sets in, let's take a look at some of these concept maps. So administration, big thanks to Constantine for getting these 4 maps together. To get to these 4 versions, I think we kicked around 15 different versions. So there is a lot of work in moving lines around and trying to find a balance for the population. I don't think I put it in my request for decision, but just so you're aware, the average population comes in at 834. So we want to be pretty close to that average if we can manage it while keeping communities together. Your upper bound for plus 25%, you're around 1,042, and your lower limit would be 625. So those are the bounds that we're trying to work within. The 4 concept maps that you have in front of you, we've tried to use common boundaries, whether it's Highway 1, Highway 36, similar township boundaries. That way, when folks are looking at the different concept maps, and they are just a concept, I don't think administration would recommend any one of these as the ideal map. You might be partial to the way Div 1 looks on a certain map, and you might be partial to how Div 8 looks on another map, and we can kind of take pieces from individual maps and stick them together like a puzzle. So the idea with the concept maps is not to have a perfect version, but something that folks can look at and get some idea of where the population is and how far you have to reach for some of our areas to get close to that average population of 834 that we're looking for. So you've had a chance to look at these. We're interested in initial comments coming back to administration. There are a few of the divisions that are the same between maps, and maybe we want to look at trying to switch that up so everybody has 3 or 4 versions of a electoral division to look at when they kick these around. What have I missed? We are using the 2020 municipal census population to move folks around, and you will see in the RFD a chart that summarizes the impact of this preliminary population redistribution. So our current map, you've got a difference of 927 between your smallest populated division and your largest populated division. We have a plus 56 to a minus 55% variance range. In each of the 4 maps that we have in front of you, we come within that bound of plus minus 25%, and we've reduced the difference between the most populated division and the least populated division. So a lot of information to consume, and I will say again, you can literally spend a lifetime moving lines around. I would encourage us that we don't look for the perfect map, but we look for concept maps that'll be good enough that we can kick out to the population and they can review and be critical about and let council know what shapes they prefer. Happy to take questions.
Thanks, Matt. Holly.
Can we go map by map and look at each one?
Yes. Okay, let's start with.
So I'll start with map 1. I want to speak first.
Yeah, Catherine, are we able to pull up map 1 and likewise as we move along?
My suggestion for map 1 was that we switched from Division 6, 2219 and 2218 with 2115 and 2015 in Division 9, so we're keeping Rosemary all together. So Division 6, I think they would lose 340 and pick up 243, so it would even up the numbers better and keep Rosemary in one piece.
Okay, thank you. Kelly?
I was commenting off the mic, but I'll say it on the mic. Holly, you did way more homework on this than I did. I did not have numbers to deal with or anything like that. I
You don't know how many maps I drew 3 years ago. So I have all the numbers of every township at home. So I was having fun playing with numbers.
We might start eating chocolate. No, go ahead. Any other questions? Neil, comments?
Yeah, I thought that possibly Jim fit in a little bit better with most of the Rosemary area, because I think the culture is probably more the same between those two than with Pisano coming into that area. Other than that, that's what I didn't like about that map.
Okay, Greg?
Yeah, I didn't, Division 5 is what I mostly looked at, is I think it's important to include Kimbrook and Bantry Bay in alongside of Lake Newell Resort, more of the lake communities being in one division, because there is a commonality between them. The only real map that did that was the map number 2. I really like the map in for Division 5 in number 2. The numbers would be right in line still, so that's my comment.
Okay, thank you. Holly, go ahead.
So in talking about map 2, I thought
I just want one more comment about map 1. Map 1 has the tightest deviation, right? I like that about it. No, least deviation in population. It's 0.8 or 80.61. I'm just, that's okay. Let's move on to 2. Holly, you had?
Yeah, in map 2, I just thought Rosemary or Division 9 should move south to pick up, was it South Rosemary? And then Division 7 could either swing north or east to pick up a little bit more of that Duchess area. Other than that, that was a good map.
Okay, any other, Neil?
Yeah, I that was my favorite map too. I just Amanda has a little bit bigger area to look after, but it kind of fits all the bills. And I agree with Greg that the way we're split up right now, I think between Bantry and Lake Newell Resort and Newell, that we're hitting at least 2 areas. And if he's going to look after one, or whoever is in that area, it gives him the same type of workload other than having the ag thrown in with it. That's a good selling point too.
Greg?
Yeah, and I look at future development too, and if there's any future development around the lake, it does take up Division 5 in map number 2 does include most of the lake. Includes Tilbrook, and quite a bit of both Neil's and my divisions. Well, I'd be number 8 for Neil, I guess, but it would be industrial also. So there's kind of more commonality there.
Okay. Thank you. Holly, just a question. I expect your suggestion would reduce the deviation a bit on map 2, is that right?
Yeah, 9 would increase in population. That way it would balance a little bit better.
Yeah, okay.
Sorry? Well, 7 would then could add a bit to go into Division 3, because it could take a little more of Duchess, because there's not much of Duchess in there, really. There's a lot of surrounding area around Duchess, so it could pull a few more of that back into that division. So Division 7 wouldn't be too separated from dividing up Duchess too much.
Oh, Adina, please. Thanks.
Well, I was just, excuse me. The thing I don't like about map number 2 is that it seems like Division 2 got considerably smaller, And so if we were to go with this, I would expect us to really be pushing that growth hamlet in Tilly so that we could get our numbers up to, so it's closer to where Division 3 or 7 or 8, because it's 808 from, and Patricia's, or Division 3 is 948, and Division 7 is 906. It seems pretty small.
You'll be visiting everybody twice a day now, eh?
What's that?
You'll visit everybody twice a day now.
Yeah.
Or twice a week. Yeah. What I didn't like about this one is the deviation is higher.
Mm-hmm.
I like a tighter deviation if we're going to do through this exercise. And the shape of the map is good, so maybe Holly's suggestion there is a good compromise. Anybody else? Map number 3. Holly.
No kidding.
This one, it does make Division 3 a bit on the smaller side, but if you go up north and take 7 straight north to catch all of North Dutchess, you can either go just south of the 550 or you can do the whole thing. The whole thing makes it 843, and then it puts the Division 3 down to 697. So it's not quite as tight of numbers. You could also go just to south of the 550 and put the rest in Division 3. So numbers are a bit different, but I really think it needs to move a little bit north, if nothing else.
Okay, any other comments? Neil.
Yeah, I think this one, I must have missed it before. I think it hits pretty darn close with not very much fine tuning.
Okay. Greg?
Yeah, just this one doesn't work. For me, I see more of a commonality in putting castles in with Scandi, Rainier, Bow City, and then running the Kinbrook and the lake area in Division 5. I'm kind of beating it's the same drum, right? So, but that's what I don't like about this. As far as the other areas, I'm not. You guys can comment a little bit more on those, as far as how the other areas are. But that's the kind of common area where I'm coming from.
Okay. Thank you. Dan, please.
I don't really see an issue with splitting up the resort and the Kinbrook Island area. It gives them 2 voices then to be speaking for them rather than just down to 1. So I don't mind that at all. That map actually doesn't look bad to me. I'd say it's probably my favorite of the ones that are there.
Okay, thanks, Dan. Any other comments? We're on map number 3, right? Ready to move on to map 4? Adina, please.
So I'm just going to say I liked map 4 the best, even though I do understand that Division 2 is smaller, but we do, the population is what it is. So I have to say I liked number 4 the best. But.
Okay, thank you. Holly.
And number 4 is the one I really took things apart on. So I just thought we needed a Duchess Patricia option because they kind of do things together. None of these options have Duchess and Patricia together. So what I thought was Division 4 would pick up the east half of that township with Kinbrook Island, puts it up to 809, I think. Division 1 picks up the rest of that township of 123 to put Division 1 at 849. And then Division 2 would pick up the 3 north townships, 1913, 1912, and 1911. So going on the other side, a little further north. And then I think that leaves Patricia with 787. And then you have to start picking up Duchess. So it would move into and take the village of Duchess or around that area. It might make a little bit on the large side, but we have quite a bit of room to play with, only a couple hundred in there. And then 7 would move north to take in all of Rosemary. So I just wanted an option that gave the Patricia Duchess option out there.
And that would probably expand the deviation some as well, right?
I believe it would, but I didn't have all the numbers for Duchess because it's not one solid piece. Some was taken out already. I know the total number is, I think, 457 in that township, but I don't know the splits, so I couldn't do the exact numbers on it.
Okay. And, Neil.
Yeah, just one question on that one. That would kind of semi-combine Duchess and Rosemary?
The same division. They do.
Yeah,
They do.
I'm not
All the
sure.
kids from Patricia go to Duchess School. Like there already is some natural connections there. I don't know. I just want to leave it as an option so people can talk about it.
Well, that's my question before. I think that the community of Rosemary fits in better on lots of reasons with the community of Gem than Rosemary fits in with Duchess. And combining even with the Common Council, Rosemary and Duchess, I mean, all this is we're looking after the council, but I'm not sure they go together if you're worried about community.
Okay. Holly?
I guess I thought these maps, the biggest thing for me was that any one of these maps could be chosen. So the councillor of the day has to look at each map and be confident that if that's what's chosen, that their people in their division could live with whatever the outcome decision is, right? So it's kind of councillor specific in a way, I think, to make sure you think each one is passable or acceptable.
Yeah, yes. Just maybe on that, Matt, what are the next steps from your perspective with regard to what we're dealing with here?
Yeah, so today what we're looking for is if there's maps that you think are good, you could approve those for kicking out. If all 4 maps need some changes, we can make changes to the individual ones. What I have for notes is map 1 could use some movement, and I'd have to touch base with Councillor Johnson on confirming what those changes would look like for map 1. Map 2, I heard there could be some changes there as well. Map 3, we could have some changes with Div 7 going to the north. And map 4, looking for a Duchess Patricia option. So if we want to direct administration to touch base with individual councillors and shift some lines around, we can go that route. If you think some of these maps are good enough to kick out as concepts, we can do that as well. Maybe I would recommend that we go through again a map at a time and look for a motion to either approve it or direct admin to amend and bring the amended version back that first meeting of January. The great news is we're ahead of schedule, which is great. We've got a little more time to kind of kick these around. So that administration will take direction.
Okay, and you'd like a motion, basically take some action on each map, either punt it or propose changes, and we've already discussed maybe what the changes should be. And I guess with that in mind, we've commented on changes for each map, right? So is there a map, one of these that you want to just discard? We're okay to keep 4 for the time being, correct? So is there one map that you just want to move out of here and for the time? That's part of what you're asking. Go ahead, Matt.
Well, what I'm asking is for approval of the maps individually to be included in the package that ultimately will go out to the public to scrutinize and give their two bits on. So we want concept maps that are not exactly the same. There should be some variability between the maps. The one version that I've heard most loudly that we haven't captured as administration would be figuring out what a Duchess Patricia option looks like across that category. I think for map 1, we're pretty close to what was proposed based on what you see in map 3. There's a version but not exactly. So we can make the amendments as recommended, bring each iteration back for you to look at again, and do it all over in January. Or if there's ones that are good and you think, let's just kick that one out to the public, that will reduce the number of iterations that we go through internally.
Okay, thanks, Matt. Lynette, and then Holly.
I was just curious if one of your possibilities had taking more of almost pie-shaped look around the city of Brooks instead of it always being such a block. And, like, I don't know, my concept is that having a variation of people in your division is totally okay, right? To have acreage owners as well as farmers and ag.
Okay, thanks, Matt.
The closest we got to like pie shape, and remember we're trying to deal with straight lines or roads or cut things down the center of a township, would be, there's a version where we've got Div 2 that comes up and hugs that southeastern portion of the city of Brooks. So that's an option. Then you've got 3 divisions that border the city. That's the closest we've got to pie shape.
And you're kind of talking pie by the acre, is what I'm thinking, right? Yeah. Okay, that's good. Thanks, Matt. Holly.
I was curious about map 4 because if people like what map 4 is like, I mean, I wanted to have a Duchess Patricia option, but if some people really like that map, you might need a map 5 to capture a Duchess Patricia option. If you change, like, if people really like it as it is here, it's kind of a different map than what I'm suggesting. So I just want to bring that up for people to say if they think this should stay and that would be a 5, or what that means for people.
Greg? Thanks, Holly.
Just a question in growing up in Tilly. I'm just wondering that area 16-13, the bottom portion of between Div 2 and Div 1 on, this would be map number 4, but that Highway 535 runs right through Tilly community. Having family that lives on both sides of that Highway 535, that's the one that the Little Red Lutheran Church is on. And it's, that 1513 is Tilly community. I don't know if you agree or not, Adina, but it is. I'm just wondering if that is, something that we need to look at. I don't know.
Adina, and then Dan, please.
I did look at that because you're right. People that live on the other side of that highway consider themselves part of the Tilly community. And I'm trying to be, the bigger person, I don't know. It was different back in the day when the county had their own school board. And so, the dividing lines, who went to Tilly School, who went to Rolling Hills School, but that's really not an issue anymore. So, they're always going to be part of the Tilly community, whether or not the lines say that. I don't feel like that's. Could you swap that for that? Sure. I'm more about equal representation. We're all part of the county, so. And like I say, those people on the south side of 535, they're always going to be my neighbor, whether they're in my division or not. So, I know what you're saying, and I felt that too. I was like, oh, I don't like any of these because, Tilly doesn't end at the 535, but we're still a community, whether there's a division line there or not, as I feel.
Okay, thanks, Adina. Dan?
If you scroll down and look at the existing divisions overlaid on top of the proposed divisions, you'll see that Division 1 already cuts into that Tilly community area anyways. So there's already 2 miles of road that are within Division 1 that are technically in what you would consider the Tilly community. So it's just moving it up 3 miles. And I agree with what Adina said. Equal representation, and they'll know whether to go to Div 1 councillor or to Div 2 councillor, or maybe they'll go the opposite way. Either which way, they'll still be represented. I don't have an issue with the way it moves up to 535 because it's already kind of split in that anyways.
Okay, thank you. Dina.
Well, and I just wanted to add to that, you know, if somebody is comfortable speaking to me about something, even though they're in Dan's or Greg's, you know, like, yeah, I don't feel we're locked into this. Like, I can't help you because you're not in my division. I think it's a way of letting everybody be more part of a community, to understand that we're all part of what's best for the county of Newell. I would not be closing myself off to anybody just because they're no longer into my division. And I would hope that would go, you know, everybody would be that way, right? If somebody wants to call me, I've got a couple of people that call me that feel comfortable speaking to me no matter what, and that's going to continue whether they're in my division or not.
Okay, Neil.
Yeah, those are really good comments, and I'm sure each one of us has people in other people's communities that phone us, but just to follow up a little bit, I really like what Lynette said there. If you used, and this is blowing all your maps out the table, but if you use Brooks as a hub and had a pie shape going all the way around, every councillor would be involved in about a 15-mile pie shape. We'd blow all our communities all apart, but it would bring more community into the whole county. So that that's just a wild, like it makes zero to me because I'm in the same division no matter which map you take, but I like that idea of encompassing it a little bit more.
Okay.
And forgetting about the acreage farmer kind of thing because it's not really there.
Okay, thanks. Holly?
Because I spent a lot of time on maps, that sounds good in theory. No one would know what division they're in because the lines are going to cross sections of land and your neighbor is not in yours, you're indifferent. It sounds, I think, the idea is nice, but I think the actual trying to do it would be very frustrating to the ratepayers because there wouldn't be consistency. And Greg's just saying how he thinks the lake community should be together because they have common interests. Well, then you've got different people they're going to for the same thing. I think it would cause more difficulties than positives.
Okay, thank you. Lynette, please.
There's lines right now. My neighbors across the road from me are in a different division than I am. So, like, there's lines. Well, no, not to actually make it a pie. Like, I didn't mean actually.
Yeah, no,
pie.
she was talking conceptually about.
Yeah,
I think
just
that's
the
how I
idea.
heard it, yeah. Making it shaped like a pie would be like trying to farm a pie, I think. Yeah. So, Dan.
I just want to say that I'm interested in that concept as well. I don't know if we want a new map to come back, but I do find that concept interesting, where every division kind of touches Brooks, because we are all affected by what happens with Brooks for sure.
And I don't think drawing a map that way is going to change any of that. It's just going to be really, I think that's impractical mostly. It just isn't going to, it's going to be a lot of work that will be confusing for people. The concept is right. I think the comment about the concept, but that's the fact of the matter now. We're all representing, I mean, we each represent a certain area, but at the end of the day, we're making decisions in the common good. I think very few of us come to this table with just the X number of people that we represent in mind in terms of their, the concept is the right one, but I don't think it needs to be split up that way to achieve that. It would be very complicated, I think. So we're not, we got to come to the point here. Go ahead, Kelly.
Yeah, and just to add to that, we want this easy for ratepayers come election day. we don't want, I'll just give this example. Somebody in, say, the Div 6 reached into a suburb of Brooks. We don't want people driving from Brooks out to Bazzano to vote for Div 6, as an example. This has to make mileage sense if you want voters to come out. Let's be real.
Okay, map number 4, how many people are, and I think Matt's comment is kind of the overview of this, that each one of, he's heard suggested changes to each one. Could you, if we kept the 4 maps and tweaked them as per the comments that have been brought forward, you could live with that. That makes some sense to you. Okay, you heard that. If we, all 4 of these maps could be part of the final complex with some minor changes for consideration at the next meeting, if that's what we'd like. Dan?
Can I get some clarification on the proposed change to map 1 again? Because I said I caught all that, but it was a joke. I didn't actually catch any of it.
Sure. I was just saying that 2219 and 2218, which is the very 2 north townships on Division 6. Do you see those 2 down there, the ones in yellow? So they'd be swapped with the 2 southeast ones from Division 9, the 2215 and the 2015. The point of that would keep Rosemary all together, and then Division 9 just pick up a little on the west there. Keeps the numbers actually closer than what they are right now.
I got a question on that. Wouldn't that put Rosemary and Bazzano together?
Right, but they're just different configurations. I mean, they vote on it, right? That's what I think we're trying to do, is get different configurations. Because last time, 3 years ago, the map said every single Division 4 was cut up. And that's like, so you want to give options. No, they got to vote.
Have you got the detail you need, Matt, down? Okay. Are there any other questions about any of the other maps? I guess the direction I think that we're heading by consensus is to keep the 4 maps with the tweaks that Matt will work on in discussion with the people who've suggested the particular concerns. Any other questions about further detail? I mean, this is the time, it's a good time to discuss it, realizing that we'll get a chance to see it all again next year.
Actually, I have a question.
Holly, please.
Matt, on map 2, you have Div 4 picking up a few people heading north, all of 6 people. But is that into Castles per se? I don't even know where those locations actually are. Like, because Castles made the comment they don't want to be separated from the rest of Castles. So is that considered part of Castles, Antelope Creek? I don't know where the people come from.
I would have to defer to the people of Castles. So I'm not sure how far south of the hamlet proper folks identify with being from the Castles area. But yeah, you do, in that version, map 2, you capture half a township. It gives you a little bit of room to grow. In Div 4, you pick up 6 people, which is minor. But I'm ignorant how those folks would identify with the community.
Thanks. Greg.
I'd hate to speculate on how people identify, but I would think that the Antelope Creek people would be more attuned to Castles than Rainier. I mean, that's just from my experience, if it makes any difference.
I'm still thinking. So just by all in favor that we include the 4 maps with the tweaks that have been suggested and take another look at them at our next meeting in January, please indicate. Opposed? I think that's the direction where you got the direction you need? Okay, great. Thanks, Matt. Thanks for your work on this. This is, as we have seen today, a complex matter that will be further deliberated. Councillor payment sheets. Motion for acceptance of councillor payment sheets. Are there some comments? Dan, please.
Yeah, we got one edit to change. Let me just pull it up here. The one where we said Kelly's Habitat opening, the 1 hour she put in should be 0. We were unclear on that one. She was standing in for the reef, so that needs to be changed. She should get that 1 hour that she put in.
Just to move I want to move the counter payment sheets as amended.
Carried, thank you. Committee reports. We have 3 committee reports presented. I'm sorry, that's right, 10.5, I didn't see that at the bottom of the page there. Functions of council. Are there any motions for functions of council? Lynette, please.
Should probably officially put it on the books, the helium opening that you guys went to. Somebody put it on theirs, but the other 2 did not, I believe. But I would make a motion that that's a function of council.
Okay, thank you, and thank you for that, noting that. All in favor, please indicate. That's carried. Thanks for that. Are there others? Adina.
Well, I was going to bring that up too, but I just want to make a comment that if something like this were to come up again, be a great thing to put that out to all of us to see if we all knew what was going on and we're interested in going.
Yeah, I think that's a good comment, and we will do some discussion around information. You know, that wasn't one that was clear to actually any of us. But we will we'll discuss that further later. Any other functions of council? Seeing none, we will move on. As I said, committee reports, and I have the list here. County of Newell Library Committee, Lynette, right?
We've been, as a board, we've been working on just getting official agreements with our compatriots in Dutchess and Bazzano, and we have those signed now. It's just a very basic agreement saying that they're agreeing to provide library service for the residents of the County of Newell, and it has been put out to Brooks, and I haven't heard back from them yet. But.
Thank you. Any questions? Thank you for that. We'll move on to joint services. Greg.
You should have all received the information on joint services, the agenda package. If you have any questions on any of that, one of us in joint services can answer it.
Any questions? Seeing none, we'll move on to Newell Regional Solid Waste Management Authority. Neil.
Yeah, I think you all do have the email where their minutes from last meeting. The new scales will be ready apparently by December 23rd, and everything's going well. The accounting has moved to Johnson, Morris, and Hunter. Somebody wiped out the power a few days ago, and the landfill was shut down for a day or 2, but it's all fixed again. And the new guy from Bazzano is, might as well relay it, is just getting rave reviews from everybody. Wonderful employee. I don't know how they ever hired him, but that took care of that transfer station. It's done. We just need a few more just like him. So that's it for that one.
Okay, thank you. Any questions? Southern Alberta Energy from Waste, Neil.
You had an email with the year-end report with them. The only new thing that's happened there, I got moved to the executive because, what's the guy's name that quit? Tom Grant quit, so they asked me if I'd move up, which you should know about. It gives us pretty good representation and access to some more workings of that council, and we are very well represented there because we have myself, Kelly, and Ray Juska on a 10-man board. So, but they're looking for they'll be looking for money and leadership from the County of Newell and the town of Brooks. So, hopefully, we're in a position to give it to them. Any questions on that?
Kelly, go ahead.
So I would like to support Neil. He will be nominated tomorrow, so I would like to make a motion that Neil take on the added responsibility of being on that board as a representative from the county. It's going to involve a few more meetings for him, so I would like to add that as a function of council, and then I have one more comment after that.
Okay, that's a motion. All in favor of the motion, please indicate. That's carried. Thank you. Go ahead, Kelly.
I just wanted to point out that our landfill has decided not to take out a membership for our municipalities. And that concerns me, if you haven't figured that out already. We are the biggest proponent to gain on this venture, and our local landfill has made a motion not to pay their membership for 2024. Now, I granted that motion can be reversed at any time, but it sends a message, and I do not appreciate it one little bit, that message is out.
To say what?
To say well, yeah.
Neil?
Yeah, the motion, it's not quite that clear. They decided to hold it for a month or two just to send a message. That's what they're doing. But they were, there was some messages had to be sent to SAWA, and they started coming in loud and clear, like they lost a couple other members. If everybody doesn't get on board, and I've already talked to the guys about getting that thing paid, this thing is dead in the water. Like, this is the last big kick at the can, and we're going to put in a pretty good effort. And the SAWA board, or the old board anyways, got the message loud and clear that things had to change a little bit. So we're in the process of that. But that was controversial, Kelly. I'm glad you brought that up, because it just about went through that we weren't going to pay it.
Yeah, and I don't mean to pick at it, but I was sure I read in the minutes.
Well, you might have read it in the minutes, however Sean recorded them, but it's...
Okay, so that's the official record, and
Yeah.
I'm just...
I'll check on that as soon as I get out of here, to tell you the truth, because...
I don't want that message sent to SAWA, that...
Yeah.
Yeah.
I agree.
Okay, that's in motion. Okay. Any other comments or questions with regard to committee reports? Seeing none, there are some post-agenda items, but I would entertain a motion to move in camera. Holly? Okay. All in favor, please indicate. With that, we are moving in camera, and I would say Merry Christmas to everyone who's still online or with us in the room. I hope you have a good Christmas and a Happy New Year, and we will see you in the new year. We will reconvene for a few minutes after in camera, but the audience will probably be small, so Merry Christmas. At least to adjourn. Yeah. Pardon me?
The only motion might be for the BMO family. Stampede award. Todd's.
Yeah.
Doesn't Todd have to first check to make sure they... So you can't really say what it is.
No, I think we just make the motion and then...